Up next, I have Dr. Martin Pratt, who is going to come in and speak to us as well about who he is, what he does, and how he is trailblazing. As I said before, all of this stuff is going to be chopped up and put on my YouTube channel, so you'll be able to find the social media and the different accounts for everyone who has come on. Hello, Dr. Martin.
Hello. I have an affinity for any ebony. So when I got the message, I was like, absolutely, I gotta speak to my sister Ebony. And this is genius. This is goes back to I don't know if you ever heard of something called Ustream, but back in the day before all the platforms let you go live, there was different apps or different other platforms that would let you go live. One was called Ustream, and we used to do live marathons using something called QIK on Twitter and another thing called Ustream. So when I saw this, I was like, "Oh, this is like Ustream. It's ingenious. I love it. I think it's a great way to fundraise and also to showcase your network, but also what you're doing, and for those of us that support you to really show up in community and support."
Thank you. Honestly, I didn't expect you to say all of that, so I'm like, oh my gosh. I appreciate that. I feel like sometimes I forget that it's also about me, because I'm just enjoying being inspired and being reminded why I'm doing. There's so many of us that's doing such people don't know stuff, and I feel like it's very important right now in terms of symbols of hope. Me personally, on my journey, like I was saying to Olabelle, I was getting a little bit fed up, because it feels like we've all been working to change our own lives, our communities, the Black narrative, and there's still so many horrendous things going on every single day. And I was getting to that point where it's like I'm dragging my feet, and I'm like, should I even be? But who I am, the change that I've made in my life, is just a statement of none of us have to be in that position. And so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I align with that. So I started my online journey in the 90s. There's a website called Black Planet, and the guy who created Black Planet was my neighbor. And so at the same time, this was in Brooklyn, Fort Greene, and you had Omar Wasu creating something he created before Black Planet was called New York Online. And then at the same time that's happening, on the corner of our block, there was a cafe called Cocoa Bar with 2Ks, so K-O Bar. It was owned by Queen Latifah. All the investors were Queen Latifah, Spike Lee, Tracy Chapman, and Alice Walker's daughter was one of the founders, Rebecca Walker, and her partner at the time, Angel. And so I ran the internet side of the cafe. This is when poetry was really big in New York. And so while that's happening, you have people like Mark Cuban and a bunch of white people creating Oxygen.com and selling it for millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And in the Black space, we got Black Planet, Black Voices. We're struggling. we're crashing every day. Cocoa Bar was the first internet cafe. I was going on radio in New York telling people, we got to buy computers. We got to be part of digital. They're going to leave us behind if we don't have the computers. And when you said what you said, it took me back to that moment in 97, 98. And I was, I think a lot of times, my generation, I'm 53, and I have a 3-year-old. So when you talk about full circle and feeling like you're running in place, I have a 27, 26, and a 20-year-old. And so then I'm starting again with a 3-year-old. And so that feeling of when is this going to end, or when are we not in struggle? I can definitely say, almost a 20-year journey, a 30-year journey. It gets better, but different. And for Black folks in particular, It was something that happened this week. Oh, right. We had the almost 20-year anniversary of a young lady who was 12 getting handcuffed on the train for eating French fries. That was in 2000 and I think it was 2007 in DC. And so the newspaper ran an article, I think the Washington Post, or it might have even been a black website, ran an article about her and her mom, they made sure that they got the laws changed in Washington, D.C., that would not allow a child to be handcuffed. And of course, there were no white kids ever handcuffed at 12 for riding the train, eating a French fry. But after her, there was a 9-year-old who was handcuffed for, yes, exactly. The reason I bring that up is that as I read her article, and she was hesitant from going public because she's 30 something and she has a child, and she just wants to, that was her history. She don't want to deal with, but she felt at an anniversary, she was like, hey, police brutality what is worse today than it was, and I'm trying to think of, there was a kid in Florida. There was this, it's not a regular thing that a under say 14-year-old in America gets handcuffed for doing just living while black.
Yeah.
So I heard of that case, but my point is bringing this all up full circle is to say while things change, things stay the same, quote unquote, because she was saying, people are being killed. She wasn't shot. She wasn't listening. She was just handcuffed and detained. But it was still a traumatizing event for her at such a young age. People called her French fry for years. She couldn't trust police. All these different things. This trauma that goes to being black. The but part is that I think, and what you're doing today is an example of that. Is that basically we have places to be heard and seen where we didn't necessarily have that, and we can stand in alignment with each other, stand in community, and make, I would say, incremental changes almost overnight if we truly desire to, versus in the early 2000s or in the late 90s, there was no way for me to connect to somebody in the UK or somebody in Canada or even somebody in Trinidad or Barbados or wherever else, Africa, or not to be specific. They say Tanzania with what is Elvis is going to be doing it in Tanzania. There wasn't that space to be in community internationally, and at the same time, even though time differences, to sort of align and be like this. So I am hopeful for the future for that, and that we have all these different platforms that we didn't have, say, 20 years ago, that allow us instantaneously, like here in America with the election of the vice president, Kamala Harris. Black women caused Zoom to increase its volume of people that are allowed to be on Zoom, because Black were able to create that space for the first meeting to support her. So Zoom, after that, then came Black men, then white women, and so all these different groups kept asking Zoom to increase the volume. And of course, once white folks started doing it, it went from like 45,000 to 100,000 to 200,000. So now Zoom has increased its volume to 1 million people can be on a Zoom.
Oh, wow.
That is black. Yes, that is directly because of Black women. How the group was win with Black women.
Yeah.
And Sister Joketa, she was, part of Silicon Valley, so she was an insider. She could make a call to the CTO of Zoom, and that's something that we didn't have, let's say in 1999 or 2000. And I believe that this opportunity for yourself, but for others who follow behind you. So just imagine in let's say 2034, there'll be a young woman who's an animator who wants to launch her comic strip or whatever, and she will look at you as a blueprint for how to stand in community. watch this animation, and it may not be, through Instagram, it may be through Roblox, it may be through some Web3 platform, but she has you as a template. And people like me, I'm one of those people that beat the drum on little, you can already probably tell, little known historical Black facts. And so I would say Ebony in the UK approached me. I didn't know her personally, and she just reached out to me on LinkedIn. And what she was doing at the time was genius, because you can pair that with, as she gets started here, she can then go to Kickstarter, she can then go to WeFunder, she can go to Republic. Those are all places to do crowdfunding, and Black women succeeded on those platforms. There's been 3 Black women that raised over $1 million on those platforms, and there's been one Black film company called Black Sands Entertainment that went from Shark Tank, your version of Dragon's Den, uh, um, to, they went from Shark Tank getting 500,000 with Kevin Hart and Mark Cuban to doing, I think it's $1.2 million raise on WeFunder. So the concept of the crowd of the community coming together to support, and then taking that energy and transferring it to a platform, and then showing up as who you are. So I do align with your feeling. I do understand that feeling. I overstand that feeling. Uh, at the same time, I'm very acutely aware that I choose to stay on the planet and choose to fight for my existence and my health and everything else, so that there can be an Ebony that can stand on my shoulder, or there can be somebody that can stand on Ebony's shoulder. And that's important. Even if we only, create one. Something I found the other day was that Marvel Comics and DC Comics are actually, they co-own the trademark rights to the word superhero. The United States court has just ruled that they don't have that right anymore. But you would think these two rivals, are in competition. They actually are in collaboration. And so that concept of, even though we may be opposing, spaces, and we may have different opinions, we can still collaborate, and we can still show up in that space of, community and collaboration. So I applaud you for doing this, and I think it's a great way to get started. And then just build on top of this. With all these different platforms have unique things on the algorithm. What I wanted to talk about today was really just about the encouraging people to really be present on these platforms and to learn different nuances per platform. And definitely, like with TikTok, there's a hashtag called Black Pack, PACT, the word black and the word pack. That hashtag is going viral amongst Black folks. Yeah, BLCKPACT, Black Pack. That hashtag is doing very well, and um, women in general on TikTok are doing well. And there's moms of TikTok. There's another hashtag called Teamwork that's not just for Black folk, people in general. With those hashtags, you do need to, if you post that on somebody else's, you put that in the For You page or the search first part of TikTok, you'll see other videos, and some of the videos have 2 million and 40 million or whatever. You can put even though that video was 4 months ago, you could put the hashtag Blackpack, and you'll see it. You'll get maybe 20 or 30 new followers. Now, when you get those followers, you need to go there, follow them back. You need to watch their videos, leave hearts on, like the video. Probably they say first 3 to 5 videos of people. Some of the videos you can repost. And so learning the platform algorithm and the nuance per platform, this has never happened. Like, I've been online since '95 with CompuServe and Prodigy and AOL back then. It's never happened that I can turn on and turn off the algorithm on any platform. Today, we have that ability because the platforms need us. And you that that we needed the platform because we didn't know how to do it. But there's so many places. And TikTok has kind of pioneered that space of making it serving the needs of the person, the consumer, the user. So by putting the hashtag up on a highly seen video, and then following that rule of liking anybody that comes by it that follows you, liking their videos, and then reposting a video that you feel aligns with you. I don't tell people to repost somebody's video. Repost a video that you feel aligned with, and then I take another step further. I send them a message, say thanks for the good content, and they go, oh, something else that I do is I highlight other people's work. I believe that that's the way that social media was all about. It was give first, ask later. So I'll highlight. That's why I repost a person's video on TikTok. I'm saying Instagram. It's a little bit different. I found commenting has killed it for me. I don't leave a one sentence comment. I'll leave like probably a 2-paragraph comment, especially if something that I have a experience in or I can align with as a dad of a toddler, or as a Black male, or as just a person on this planet. Whatever this case may be, I leave a comment. My account I am paying for the account, so the account does have the blue check mark. So that means your comment is at the top.
Yeah.
A bunch of blue check mark. So like say someone like Viola Davis or Elvis, if I left a comment, I may be numbers 10 of the blue check marks. But if that's another, there's a guy on IG that's I go by Big Mike, and he makes these videos that he just watches other people eat, prepare food, and he can sing. He's very voluptuous, we'll say, very thick, has a big back, and then he puts the camera right in his face like this. So his videos, I think I have 500,000 followers on TikTok, on IG. When I leave a comment on his videos, he has a lot of regular individuals, so my comment's always at the top. But Mike's videos are hilarious, and you never expect this this plus size man to really be able to carry the notes that he carries, and he picks these great songs while he's watching the food being prepared. So the engagement that you can get on IG by just commenting, crazy. On Twitter, X, you can do the same thing. Not a tweet, but replying underneath a tweet. And I got Jasmine Crockett, one of our politicians, to follow me and engage with me. I left a couple of comments, genuine comments, again, replies to her tweets. And there was a movement on Kamala Harris' side called KC Hive, like the Beyonce Hive, Bayhive. So KH Hive, rather. Sorry. I started Jasmine Crockett Hive, so JC Hive, and that's kind of fun, and it's an homage to her, especially since she took down a bunch of white supremacist politicians we have here in America, and she labeled them as they should be, and so to me, she's a rising star in U.S. politics, especially in the Black space.
Mm-hmm.
So having her interact with me without me having to beg and plead, and then, but just by leaving a genuine reply, it's been very rewarding. Similar on YouTube. YouTube also has a space now for you to leave a video reply as a comment. And so you can comment under somebody's video as a video.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. So my advice and what I wanted to really push today was to let's let our communities know that these platforms, they're wide open, and if you take the time, I'm here as long as I'm on the planet. I'll give people advice on what to do and how to show up and be in community, and I love that. So that's what I'm here for. I have a bunch of clients, but next year I'm going to start a community just for content. I'm really starting it this year, but I'm putting it together now. But anyway, my point is that I'll always be available for a question. That said, I think that the main thing I want people to our community to do is to really show up in their selves,
Yeah.
and knowing who they are, and knowing what they desire, what makes them feel comfortable. I don't want you ever to step out of space that do something just to do it. No, no. You need to, whether you're what the previous speaker was talking about, whether it's interviewing people, whether it's you're a cleaner, you do janitorial services, whatever. I had a client in the UK. Unfortunately, she passed during COVID, but she showed up as a theater person. She would get, I forget what you call it, but the town, the council would pay her to do plays, and so she would put on plays, and she was very good at it. But her day job, she was also a social worker with, I forget, social services. Um, so I was encouraging her to start to do videos, not just about plays, but to do videos about not her cases or anything, but what can people do when they see a child in need, and because it's and this was in 2022. Now we started to see, where a black woman did 57 videos on TikTok, and now she's a millionaire because she told her story.
Yeah.
So, and there's a concept of story time. People are like, hey, well, it's story time, and part of that to me is because we're at a content desert when it comes to corporate content. The normal places for good content. I have an account with BritBox. I have an account with, I forget, this Australian streaming service. I'm looking for content all over the world now because the US content is garbage.
Yeah.
I'm I start to see, the UK content. I'm starting to feel that same pull where I've watched everything. I'm like, okay, you can't create new content. And so now we're turning to each other and saying, well, there's 1,001 stories in our heads, and all of us grew up in some type of trauma. We all had, grandparents or great grandparents or parents that were idiots. So, and they were idiots because their parents were idiots, and they were idiots because their parents were idiots. So, we all have these damn stories that we share, and we're here for it. You don't have to be in a studio and have lights, and you can be in your car. It can be dark. People can barely see your face. Guess what? We're still going to show up.
It's true.
Whether you're a truck driver or whether you're, what do you call it, a cab driver, whatever it is that you're doing. You could be a bicycle messenger. I mean, people are producing content and creating that space for their creativity, how they show up. You don't show up like me, you don't show up like Ebony, show up how you show up. That said, know the algorithm, know what you need, whether it's a good microphone, know that you need, there is some software like with YouTube, you do need vidIQ, VIDIQ. It's a really good software. You do need maybe CapCut is a good app for you to have for
Yeah.
TikTok. Um, there's a old school website that's also an app called Headliner. Headliner was the first site that allowed you to take audio and make the audio file into a video file, and with the wave, with the wave file going like this. And so Headliner was free for a minute, for like you could use a minute of audio for free, and it's still free. But they have upgraded into an AI space, and they have something called Eddy. So it's EDDY.headliner.app, and Eddy will take long form video, it's a half an hour, an hour, or whatever, and it will create the show notes, the transcript, the thumbnail, all in one, and it's very accurate. I like Opus Clips or Opus Pro AI for taking long video and chopping it to 20 clips, but I love Eddy because Eddy gives me more, um, all in one place. And Headliner, I don't know who's behind it. They're what I love is intentional intelligence. That's when somebody takes an intention and does it the most intelligent way possible. And Eddy is very intentional.
Yeah.
with getting you, the basics. I need the show notes. I need the transcripts. And they'll probably keep upgrading. They're that type of a company. Um, but anywho, my point is that you have to have the tools to help you. You can show up your creativity in your space. Don't follow us. Follow you. Be you. Have the right tools, and then genuinely, honestly, just talk to people. Whether somebody leaves a like or somebody leaves a hateful comment on your, I like hate comments because I ask why, and then they go, and they don't expect that, so then they have to go into this, the reason, and then it becomes painfully apparent why why they feel the way they feel. But sometimes I even like hate comments, and I know it throws their mind because it's like, what? I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, you engaged. You gave me hate, but it's engagement, and the algorithm loves engagement. So I'm all for that. Um, and I also think that we are at an interesting space as men because we've fucked up the planet enough, and so now I see the next 5 years as a stretching period for men to step back and to empower the women in our life to be in leadership roles. And
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of idiots that can't deal with that. So, just be mindful of that space.
I,
But there are a lot, there's probably, I would definitely say there's more men that love women than hate women. It may not seem like it online, may not feel like it in the moment that you get to hate, but just reach out to, I call us safe brothers or safe men who really want you to have a good experience, but also want you to be safe. Just reach out to us and, get recharged, be really aware of your circle, and whether or not your circle empowers you or it doesn't empower you and pulls and drains from you. So you need to, look at that. But I'm excited for, the future of what Black content looks like around the world. And I think also the ability we have to connect to each other, show up in community, be intentional, and help each other.
definitely. I am so grateful for all of the gems that you just dropped. I didn't even know what to expect from you coming on, but this has been like super useful. Um, Especially in terms of me, a content creator across many different platforms, and wanting to help. I found that creating content allowed me to amplify my voice.
Mhm.
One of the things that I had to come to terms with this morning, because first I came online and I was like, oh yeah, sharing my voice, sharing my opinion. And then it's like, okay, not everybody. I've never been a person who like forces my opinion on anyone. But then it's like when I share my different opinion, other people are like, no, you're wrong. And I was just like, what's going on? So now I'm like, in my opinion, this is my take on something. What's your take? And giving each of us space and empowerment to know all of us have voices. It's not just like certain voices that are
Yeah,
lifted, or we have the power to amplify our own.
as you get older, you'll stop saying your opinion because they're idiots. And so it's everybody's voice is their opinion. Like I mean, you can say it now, and I get feel what you're doing, and I feel that the tiptoeing we need to do, but at a certain point in your life, you're like, f that, and my voice is my voice, and you follow me, don't follow me,
Yeah,
but I fully understand, thinking and wanting to make sure that people know you're not speaking for all Black women, you're not speaking for all Caribbean women, you're not
yeah,
speaking for all Black UK people, you're not speaking for, you know, and at the same time you are. So it's like you pick your battles, and I think language is something that we're going to really start to look at in the next 5 to 10 years, because we all have this colloquial language. I'm really loving um, what's not Irish, the people that were the God, I can't think of the name, but where Trump tried to build he built his Scottish. I love the Scottish take on how they dog Trump out, the terms they use to insult him,
yeah,
though, like never thought. And so as we look at the language of people and we start to homogenize, become more unified in language, English it sucks. It just doesn't make sense in a lot of spaces. And then you have Latin that Italian, French, and everything else is based on, and that sometimes doesn't make sense. But at least it's better than to me, in my opinion, better than English. But I'm excited for the next generation, the Z's and the A's. They are not like us, and they are. I think they're going to come from a very because they have to save the planet, like literally save
Yeah.
the planet, and so they're going to come from a very this is the best that we can do right now. Let's keep moving. We got to do the rainwater. We got to deal with climate, the temperature of the earth. We got so many different problems they have to focus on. So it's going to be interesting, and I think that'll give people like you and me, and I think poetry is going to start becoming more. It's popular, but I think it's going to become more popular, and I think the the art of writing is gonna something you don't know or may not know is my family owns a bookstore. We own the oldest black bookstore in New York. It's called Sisters Uptown Bookstore. My auntie and my cousin, and so we've had that bookstore in our family for 24 years, and I've seen the up and down of writing and how books were really popular in let's say early 2000s, late 90s. They hit a certain height in 2010, 2011, dropped down with the start of Amazon and really Amazon destroying local bookstores, and then now it's starting to climb again. But at the book, the physical book, almost like how the album or the versus CD versus digital and back to vinyl is starting to really people are starting to appreciate the sound, the quality of vinyl. So I think that writing and those of us that enjoy language is going to be and you won't have to say and then you could and it's the other thing too. I'm all for people saying to me, Martin, you're wrong, and I love saying in my opinion because it's my goddamn opinion. And I want people to know it's my opinion, and that's cool. Then lean into that, create a whole line of merch for that. A t-shirt in my opinion. No, I'm dead ass. Like
Yeah.
create this in my opinion. Create a mug that says in my opinion. Put it on the back of shirts so people can see it as you walk away. And all that stuff. Showing up in your space with your brand with these extra tools, monetize that. And not everything is to be sold, but I do think that you should lean into what makes you happy. That said, I just want you to know that they're idiots that people that are online a lot. I always say, 1 out of 6 is having some type of emotional distress, and you'll run into that 1 out of 6, probably once a day. And so there's no matter what you say to them, they're still in emotional distress. So
Yeah.
it's like, and that's one of the things I don't argue. I ask a question and I just leave it. I let them have the last word. That's my thing. I let them have the last word, and they're like, "Yeah, I told him." I'm like,
I don't even respond. I just like their comment and go about my day.
yeah, it's so crazy. But I think as you traverse these digital streets and you decide how everything wants to show up, let me know. There's a lot of spaces and places for women and for Black women especially. I think that so in the early days of Twitter, what came out according to PewInternet.org, they're an internet research nonprofit here in the U.S. is that Black women tweeted the most, and those are also the days of blogging. Black women blog the most here in the U.S. And so the concept that Ebony's voice, even though she may be, she may not have 10 billion followers, but Ebony's voice matters. And you need to know that, live that, see that, and then show up in that space, especially on a place like LinkedIn. I think that whether it's Lisa Hurley or Sharon Hurley or Liz Lively, I know people they have different camps and people are in different quote unquote spaces in LinkedIn. But I like today's LinkedIn versus 2010's LinkedIn, and I know that I can go on LinkedIn and I follow these women. Um, and I know that I can see a Black woman's voice automatically Not that I have to go out and search for it, but the actual algorithm is feeding me a Black woman's voice whenever I go on the platform. So I think that you need to know that, as you decide what you want to do and how you want to show up and stuff, there's definitely space for